All right, good morning, everyone. I might just get cracking. It's 10 o'clock. Yeah, today's session is all about commitments. So we're talking about some of the primary features in Premiere, which is the subcontracts and our purchase orders that we can create. So today is session 2 in the project management track, but the 11th meeting overall. You'll see that what we do today, it will kind of flow on to a few of the other topics that are coming up. So for example, you'll see that these subcontracts and POs, they'll link directly with the AP stuff that we're about to do on the accounting track. And we'll follow that all the way through to some of the later sessions about reporting and job forecasting, etc. So what we really want to do here today is show you guys, I'm just letting one more person in, is show you guys how these commitments work in Premiere. We're gonna be doing some creation of POs and subcontracts, but there's some little tidbits around them in regards to say best practice and certain functionality that you might not have seen before because they're very Premiere specific. So we'll look at all that stuff today. So this is the order of what we're going to tackle this topic in. So we're going to just really talk about some concepts to begin with, and then we'll jump right into subcontractor management, how that works in Premiere. And then towards the end of the session, we'll look at POs and just some tasks to complete on this topic. Just going to wait 1 second, just someone else joining as well. All right, so we're talking about commitments today, and because it's part of the project management track, we like to look at the job dashboard. So the job dashboard is pretty central to a lot of things that we do in Premiere. So this is a screenshot of the job dashboard. It's aimed at this one particular job, 2311. And we've highlighted all the bits and pieces that today's session will affect. So what POs and subcontracts will affect. So I might just start from left to right. So when you're doing your POs, the minute that you're entering in POs into the system and you're posting them, it'll affect the forecast margin. So you would see that number move up and down. Forecast margin is one of the figures on this job dashboard that are hyperlinked. So all the stuff that you see in blue, you can drill through to and have a look at. So if you were to click on that 9.05%, for instance, on forecast margin, it'll take you through to a screen. You'll be able to see, what that figure is comprised of. As you move through your commitments, so you're pushing subcontracts and POs through, you'll see that budget utilization bar graph move as well. So you can see that the darker color in that square is the actuals, which is AP invoices that you've actually posted, plus the remaining commitments. So commitments are what we're talking about today, which is the POs and the subcontracts, right? It'll also affect the original contract sum. That's another figure for your subcontracts, and that's another figure you can drill down on. So if you were to click on 156,200, that figure on the screen there, it will show you what it comprises, that original contract sum for subcontracts. And then towards the middle there, you've also got pending commitments. So this is a really important distinction to make in Premiere. So in Premiere, there's a number of statuses that your transaction can be. So when you have posted something, that will leave it in a posted status. But you can also save transactions in Premiere. And as you're working through it, you haven't posted it yet, that will leave it in the pending status. So that's what this little circle graph is here to show you. It's just saying that you have a PO and in this instance, a subcontract variation that hasn't been posted yet, but you've saved it. This is a good thing to check all the time, just to make sure that there isn't stuff that you've kind of started work on, you've saved, but you haven't posted yet, because ultimately that'll affect those figures on the left-hand side of this particular job dashboard screen, right? Down the bottom of the screen there, you have the estimate at completion. So as you're working through your POs and subcontracts, again, it'll move the estimate at completion for you. There's some calculations that the system has in the background that automatically does this. So if you were to say enter in a PO or subcontract and you just refresh the screen, you'll see that this estimate at completion, or EAC as in Premiere terminology, that will move along with that as well. On the right hand side, you have remaining budget. I guess that's pretty self-explanatory as to what that is. As you consume the budget, that figure will go down. Again, it's a hyperlinked figure, so you can actually drill down upon the budget and have a look at that. And then on the far right there, you've got this awaiting approval section. What this is we can set up workflows in Premiere. So you've already done the session to look at that, I believe. And when you set up a workflow and you've pushed a PO or subcontract through, if there is approvals attached to that PO, this job dashboard will kind of show you the job view of that. So it's going to show you, for this particular job, these are the POs and subcontracts that are awaiting approval. This is kind of similar to what we're talking about in the middle of the screen, the pending commitments, because when things have not been approved yet, they haven't been posted yet. Okay, so it has to kind of follow through the whole approval process before the commitments are kind of posted through into, say, like an AP invoice or something like that. All right. And yeah, these are also hyperlinked. So if you wanted to see what makes up that, that one figure on that PO line there, you just click that and it'll bring you through to the details of that one PO. All right, so that's the job dashboard. Again, pretty central to a lot of the project management sessions that we do. Now, I just wanted to show you this slide before we move through into some software, into the actual system itself. And the reason I wanted to show you this slide is because it has a lot of, it has both the calculations that we use in Premiere to calculate, I guess, various totals, and it also has some terminology about it. So if I start from the top of this slide, we've got original estimate and your variation costs. So original estimate is what you upload into a job and you say, this is the total cost of the job as we estimate at the very beginning of the project. And then we also have our variation costs. Okay, so those two added together in Premiere, that forms the current estimate. So on the job dashboard screen, if you see current estimate, that's how it's calculated. Just below that in the orange, that's all the stuff that we are kind of looking at today, the commitments. So basically all the POs that you have raised and the subcontracts that you have raised and the subcontract variations that you have raised. If you add those all together, that will form the total commitments for this particular job. And so if you see the term total commitments, that's how it's calculated. Just below that, you see committed actuals. So that is any, say, AP invoices that are matched to a PO, subcontract, or a subcontract variation. That's what Premiere calls committed actuals. If you raised an AP invoice that's not related to a PO, subcontract, or subcontract variation, that is what Premiere calls uncommitted actuals. So on top of that, you can see that little outstanding commitments. That's basically any of the commitments that you raised in the orange that you haven't yet invoiced out. You haven't attached an AP invoice to, so that's there as well. But basically, if you got your committed actuals and your uncommitted actuals, you add them together, you have your total actuals. That's what Premiere calls total actuals. And then if you get the total actuals and you add that to the outstanding commitments, so stuff you haven't invoiced yet, then you have your budget utilized. That's how Premiere calculates budget utilized. We also got this anticipated cost worksheet. I will kind of gloss over that. We'll deal more with that in the forecasting session. But then remember in the previous screen, we had that estimate at completion figure, or the EAC as Premiere calls it. That is really just your actuals plus your outstanding commitments, and then plus this anticipated cost worksheet, which is a forecasting feature that we'll run through in a later session. But these are probably the primary calculations that are used in terms of what we're going to look at today. So yeah, and we'll review this again like in the forecasting session. All right. And don't worry, we'll go in the software, and I guess you'll put two and two together in the software, and you'll see these titles and names come up in the screens that we'll look at today. All right. So last thing that I wanted to go through before we move on to the actual workflow in the software itself. Just very quickly, you guys definitely know the difference between subcontracts and POs, but I guess from a Premiere's perspective, I just wanted to highlight these features. So a subcontract, it relates to services engaged. But the key thing with subcontracts in Premiere is that you can push a subcontract in Premiere through the portal, and that allows your subcontractor to claim through the portal. So it has basically a predefined set of behaviors attached to a subcontract in Premiere. So you can track compliances, there's subcontract variations, all that kind of stuff. All of those behaviors are linked to subcontracts in Premiere. So if you're raising a subcontract in Premiere, you have access to all these features in Premiere. For purchase orders in Premiere, it does not have the portal feature. Okay, but it does have the ability to generate delivery dockets, delivery schedules. You can have delivery address. So it's very, I guess it's generally for materials and for like higher rate agreements, and not so much for, say, the subby to log on somewhere and claim those things. So really important to differentiate the different behaviors attached to the different kinds of documents in Premiere. Okay. And again, we'll go through the software and you'll see the differences there. So last slide. So this is what we're about to look at in the software. So first of all, we're not looking at POs to begin with. We're looking at subcontracts, and there is a number of ways you can enter subcontracts in the system. So we are going to mainly look at option 1 today, which is creating a subcontract through what we call the job budget control screen. We like to do this because you can see the budget, and you'll see the benefits of doing that. But basically, you can see the budget and you can create multiple subcontracts at once. It's a nice, easy way to create subcontracts based off your original estimate. Option 2 is you can just manually add a subcontract on the subcontract screen itself. Option 3, you can use this add from feature in Premiere. So if you have a subcontract that looks very similar to an existing subcontract, you can use this add from feature, and it kind of either copies from a template or copies from an old subcontract. So you save yourself a little bit of legwork. And then option 4, if you have a very complicated subcontract that's quite unique, has many lines, like let's just say it has 30 lines, 40 lines, you can actually use the Excel add-in that you've probably installed already, and that will allow you to upload a subcontract from a template. All right. So that's pretty much it for slides. I'm going to go to the software now. Before I do, does anyone have any questions on like the concepts or anything you've seen in the previous slides? All good. All right, cool. So I'm just going to move this software here. So as I said, today we're looking at, so I'm logged into Premiere on the home screen. Let me know if that's too small. I've zoomed in a little bit. Yeah, so today we're going to be using the job budget control screen. So if I just type in job budget at the top, you can see there's a job budget control screen. And that'll bring me to this screen here. So straight away, I'll just make this a little bit smaller. So I'm going to right click the rows displayed and make it 5, just so that you can see the bottom section as well. Okay, so job budget control screen, what this is doing is I've gone to the 2502 job, which is the job we've been working with through our sessions. And it's pretty much just a view of all your cost codes that you would have uploaded to a job. So obviously this is demo data, so it'll look a bit different to yours, but you can see, there's preliminaries, there's the group, and then these are all the cost items themselves. So building approvals, consultant fees, etc. But if I move across here, you can see that we've got these titles here. So remember that little diagram we looked at? You can see that all the calculations are coming up here like so. So you've got the original estimate, and then you get your approved variations, and then it's given a current estimate. So kind of, if you work left to right, you can see how all those calculations kind of wash out across the screen. The reason I'm showing you this today, though, is that you can see in the bottom section here, well, not really bottom, it's kind of like the middle section, there's a couple of buttons. So you've got generate PO and generate subcontract. So you can actually create subcontracts on the screen as per the option 1 that we just saw before. And how we do that is really nice and easy. So if we were to say, I've got some budget on this one, so I'll use this. So for consultant fees, if I wanted to create a subcontract for this, I could just type in an amount here, like $3,000, and I just choose a vendor. So if I chose a vendor and I wanted to create a consultant fee subcontract for ABS bricklaying, I just have to put in the amount and the vendor, And then if I press generate subcontract, it would create that subcontract for me. But there's a little bit of smarts to this. So if I wanted to say, maybe add create a subcontract for this cost item as well, and it goes to the same subby. So if I put ABS bricklaying in both of these, what it will do is it will actually go ahead and create a single subcontract, but it will have multiple lines on the subcontract that the subby can claim against. So if they're doing work against multiple cost items for a project, you can kind of define that here, and then the system will automatically roll that up into one. So I might just do that and just show you how that looks. So if I press generate subcontract here, you can see what it's done in this top line here is, it's created. So it's automatically, first of all, brought me over to the subcontract screen. So this is where we would manually enter in subcontracts if that was what we wanted to do. But you can see that it's automatically assigned it to the correct job. It's kind of given it the vendor, and then it's also given it the amounts. So if I were to flip over to the line section tab here, you can see that it's created a line on the subcontract for each of the cost items that we define in the job budget control screen. And it's kind of already done all the legwork for me. So it's assigned it to the appropriate cost item code and all that kind of stuff. So this is all data that you would have had to manually enter if you were just, pressing add and keying everything in. So other than this, if I go to the main tab here, I guess some other things on the subcontract screen as we're looking at it here, it automatically brings through a whole bunch of vendor information. I guess this is probably pretty similar to other systems, so I won't go into it in great detail, but you can see there's like vendor address and payment terms and all kinds of stuff. But some Premier specific things that you might be interested in is you've got a vendor project manager. So for every subcontract, you can define like a unique vendor project manager. This is important if, for every different subcontracts, you may need the documents sent out to different people for that particular subby. And therefore, Premiere has I guess, a feature that you can kind of use to accomplish that goal. You've also got the subcontractor claims portal, right? So if you were wanting your subcontractor to log onto the Premier claims portal to submit a claim, then this is where that's all set up. So you can define which email those details should go to. And what this does is when you define an email here, it'll send them a link. And with that link, they can just log into the claims portal and go through the steps required to submit a claim. And we'll go through that in a later session. There's a whole session on the claims portal. Other things on here is you can have like a start date. So this start date actually drives what date they can access the claims portal. And you can enter in some scope of work information here as well. So we already went through the line section here, so I won't go into that in great detail. But if there was retention for this particular subcontract, you can enter that information here. If there was job specific retention set up, so you can actually set some retention settings on the job itself, that all carries through here. If you wanted to add comments onto any of these lines for your subby, you can actually do that, and they'll see that on the portal as well. So comments line, supposed to do that. They'd see it as an extra line when they go to claim. You can also look at their compliances. So here it's in our demo system, we're tracking assigned subcontract and safe work method statements. So these things, we could track and error or give a warning for if they haven't been received when the subby does their claim. Other things you can track is approval log. So if you've set up a subcontract workflow approval, you'll be able to see all the steps here as it moves through. So it'll say like, sent to sign by the subby. And then when they've signed it, it'll say, sent to sign by the PM, etc. So you'll be able to track all that in this log here. There's notes that you can add onto this subcontract. And then you can also attach documents. So if you've done the document session from a previous thing, you can actually just get something from your desktop and click and drag it. So if there's like scope of work documents or some kind of like these ASR standards, you can just click and drag them, and that will also kind of flow through onto the subcontract workflow as well. Yeah, so that's really it. We created this subcontract again from the job budget control screen. I just want to show you that if I press add here, just to manually add a new subcontract, I would have to manually key in all the information. Like the functionality is all the same, but you can see most of the things here are blank. So yeah, just wanted to show you that the job budget control screen is probably where most people are doing their subcontracts from, just to save them a bit of time. But it is possible to manually add them on the screen as well. I'll just delete that one. So there's a couple of other scenarios that I wanted to show you on this job budget control screen. So this one, what I did is I assigned a vendor to two different cost codes and an amount, and then you can see when I press generate subcontract, it kind of combined them and created the subcontract. There's some other features I want to show you here. So if I wanted to create a subcontract for, say, the sites and containers, I just want to show you that you got this use all button here as well. So rather than having to manually type in the amount, if you press use all, it will just consume the rest of the budget. So you can see the remaining budget is 900, and if I press use all, it automatically populated that. So if I were to do that and create that, I guess the rest of it is very similar to what you just saw before. Another common scenario that comes up is, let's just say we're looking at consultant fees, but I needed to raise multiple subcontracts for this one cost item, and I didn't want to use ABS bricklaying again. So to do that, what you need to do is just refresh this page. So if I refresh this page here, you can see that, kind of removes the details, and then I can go and create my second subcontract. I might just also show you this. So at the moment, remember at the very beginning of the session, I was talking about
what if it was multiple line items under the one line for one subcontract though?
Multiple line items for, so if it was related like this?
Yeah. So where you put the against in the job budget control section, where you selected a subcontract and a particular value, what if we had, say, $1,000 for setup and then another $1,000 for, I don't know, the actual works, but we want to split a couple of lines out?
I guess then in that instance, like, let's just pretend, we'll go down a little bit. Let's just pretend this water consumption is set up, and I guess this temp services water, power water is like your actual work. Then you could just do like something like this. So you would just do what we just did before. Basically, you'd enter a value in each of those items, and then select.
What if there's two particular items we want separated out under water consumption?
Oh, okay. Well, I guess when you get to the actual subcontract portion, you could split it out. But would those two separate line items be the same cost item on your original estimate, or would you?
They're the same cost item, but we may have a particular breakdown for a particular reason. Like, for example, we might just have a line item for electrical services, but we might have it split out into their preliminaries, their lighting, their switchboards.
Right. So you could, once you've kind of generated, I guess this kind of leads on to what I was about to get to. So once you generate the subcontract, it's in this pending status. So you can actually still make changes to this. So, this one we created has consultant fees and survey requirements, but I could go in and say add subline and go like, I'll just say like something else, like a switchboard or something like that. And then you could go ahead and like say reallocate these. So it could say like so. And then yeah. So like it's hitting the same cost item. So you can see it's hitting 1006, 1006. But then now I can split that amount into like sublines that the subby would claim against on the claims portal.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Does that help answer your question?
Yep. Thanks. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And I guess, yeah, if there was sub items, obviously if they relate to the same cost item, you would have to do this kind of little manual adjustment. But, if you think it's worthwhile if you made like another cost item for those little breakdowns, that might help expedite creating the subcontract. But I guess it's a pros and cons kind of thing that you can weigh up. All right. Cool. So we were looking at the use all button, and then we know that we can generate multiple cost items into one subcontract. So if I were to post this, so again, going back to the screen here, you can see that we're on the pending status. So if I were to look at the ones that we were raising the subcontract to, these cost items, you can see that we've still got the same remaining budget left because I haven't posted it. This particular subcontract is still in the pending status. So you see that the minute that I post this, the status will go from, so it's giving me this little audit trail of what it's done. The status will go from pending to posted. And at that point, if I were to refresh this page, you can see that the budget is now consumed. You can see it's gone down to 2,000. So yeah, that was one of the key points that I made in an earlier slide. You got to make sure that the things that you need posted are posted so that it reflects correctly on your budget there. All right. So that is that. Let me see. I'm just going to check my notes to make sure that I've covered everything. Yeah, okay. I think that is mostly everything. I think the only thing that I did not go through was on the subcontract screen. So in this particular example, we created a subcontract with multiple lines. I just wanted to point out for the purposes of your workflow approvals, just a reminder that it uses the top line as the driver for where the approval goes. So for instance, if you set up a very specific workflow that's different for both consultant fees and survey requirements, for instance, it will follow the workflow that's for consultant fees, and that's the driver of how it kind of gets pushed through. All right, that's pretty much it for that process. Is there actually any other questions on subcontracts or generating the subcontract from the job budget control screen?
Not so much the subcontract itself, but the subcontract portal. When it's due time for the subbies to put a claim in, do they get a monthly notification or a reminder or anything that it's due to be submitted?
Yeah, absolutely. So we will go through this in the subcontract portal session. So there's a system default setting that you can set up. I'm going to just quickly show you that. So in system preferences, we've got this little bit here that you can see this like claims portal session. So there's like a few settings here, and you'll go through this later in the claims portal session. But you can kind of set a due date, like you can say, all their claims are due by, X date. And then you've also got a reminder date. So Premier will send out like an email saying, your claim is due on X date, and you can, choose the date for that as well. Cool. Great. So that's pretty much the subcontract side of things. And again, if these are the multiple ways that you can get the subcontract into the system, but whichever way you choose, you'll ultimately end up back on the subcontract screen, and so you'll be able to do any of those things that we just talked about there. So if I were to go forward in slides. Yep. So we talked about subcontract retention. So you can do the max of I guess the example here, you've got 10 to the max of 5, and this is kind of just showing you the setup that would be required to kind of get that there. I might just go through that on the screen as well. So the retention was here, and if you were to, it'd be like 10. Oh, I posted it now, so I can't. I can't edit it, but you could enter like 10% here, and then you just have to choose max percentage at 5 and put 5 there for the 10 to the max of 5. Does anyone else use any kind of other retention setup that's different to 10 to the max of 5? That's usually the most common one that we come across. That's okay. All right, cool. So while I'm here, I might just show you this as well. So we posted the subcontract, and one of the things that you just noticed here is that once I posted it to the posted status, it now reflects my budget, but I can't actually make any changes here. So I can't change any of these amounts anymore. So in order for me to do that, I have to go to more actions, and I can either undo posting, but in this instance, I'll just press revise. So if you ever need to change a detail on a posted transaction in Premiere, there's lots of places where you can do this revise feature. And when I do so, it changes the status again, and it goes to revising. So now it's in revising, I can actually edit everything again. But revising has the same behavior as pending. So if things are in a revising status, they also won't reflect on the budget figures. Okay, so again, pending and revising, I guess, a similar kind of statuses. But now, if I were to do to show you the retention percentage setup, I could do I could type something in here now because I go 10%, and then I go max of 5%. But if there was I'll just use this example because it seems like everyone uses 10 to the max of 5. But if there's any other examples anyone wants me to show, happy to do that as well. But just wanted to show you that retention bit there. So if I were to, so let's just say I take the scenario, I've forgotten to add the retention settings for this particular subcontract after I posted. I revised, and then it's in the revising status. I correct the error, or I enter in the information that I've forgotten to key in. The final step, again, would just be to post this one. If this was part of like a approval workflow, like for instance, if I didn't have the authority to post this by myself, then I would have to send signature and approval requests. But in this instance, I do. So just for the purposes of today's session, I just post it. Great. So that's the audit trail there. And there it is. So it's posted again, and it's good to go again. All right. So that's that. So I'll go back here. Yeah, there's just a quick note at the bottom here saying that as you kind of work through this, you need to release retention to your subcontract for your subcontract. There's a release retention screen as well, and we'll get to that also in a later session. But just know that that's how you do that. All right, so we quickly looked at the compliances tab, and on that little example I did there, and you saw that there was assigned subcontract and safe work methods. In your design sessions, you probably talk to someone about what kind of compliances you want to add into the system. I just wanted to explain that the compliance tab that we looked at today, that is on the subcontract level. So in Premiere, there's multiple levels at which you can apply compliance checking. So you could do it at the vendor level. So that might be something like vendor insurances, or sign vendor, like the vendor application form or something like that. You can do it at the subcontract level, which is what we looked at today. Things like sign subcontract is a common one on that level. There's also a third level, which is on the claims portal. So if you wanted to enforce some kind of compliance on the claims portal, you can also add compliance there too. They're all separate levels, so you can have completely different documents at each of those 3 levels there. All right. Yep, so that's compliances. With subcontract management, yeah, so we just looked at this, how to revise a subcontract, and you can also do undo posting. But just remember that you can't, that undo posting one actually only works if you haven't attached an AP invoice to it. Yeah, there's that. All right, so subcontract reports. So if you were to try and interrogate a subcontract, you wanted to know some details about some subcontracts that have been entered in the system already. These are some common ways that you can do it. So there's the subcontract summary screen, the inquiry screen, and we also got a subcontract report. But let me just go to the software so I can show you. So I'll just go to the subcontract summary screen first. I'll just type that up here. Subcontract summary. So this is a nice little inquiry screen about all your subcontracts in the system. So you can see that there's a big long list of subcontracts. This is everything that we have in the demo system. It has like a little speedometer bit at the top here that is quite useful. So it just tells you of all these subcontracts that are on the screen, what has been billed to date and paid to date. So you can quickly see at a glance how that's all going. If you wanted to filter it down to a particular job, you can actually just go ahead and type in the job. So we've been working with 2502. So I can do that. And you'll see that it also narrows down and then this little speedometer changes as well. But the nice feature about this is if I was looking at this as on, like, say, the full job level, I can see all the subcontracts that I've ever raised for 2502, where they're all at in terms of bill to date and claim to date, etc. So that's all the details on the right here. And if I wanted to know more about any of these subcontracts, I could actually just click this and it will hyperlink me through directly to that one subcontract. And then you can see in the bottom section here, that's the line. So this one is site toilets, and you can see all the details about that in this little subcontract inquiry screen. Okay. So the subcontractor summary screen and the subcontract inquiry screen, they kind of work hand in hand. They drill through to each other, and it's a nice way to kind of get a holistic picture of what's going on with your subcontracts in the system. All right. So other than that, we can also go to the job dashboard. So if I went to the job dashboard, this is the screen that we were looking at the very beginning of the session with those little yellow boxes. And you can see that here, it's got the subcontract summary section. And if I was to look into that figure there, it actually brings me back to the subcontract screen. I don't know if you noticed, but it drills down to the job now, and it'll show me all the details about the subcontracts for this one particular job. And you can see that a few of our subcontracts are pending. So if I were to go back to the subcontract job dashboard for 2502, that's what we're talking about with a pending commitment section. So you can see there's 3 subcontracts that are pending. So I can actually click this, and again, it will drill through to the subcontract screen. But notice how it's only showing me the pending one. So you can see very quickly, whether some of these should be posted or not. So job dashboard is a nice one to get around your subcontracts as well, just by using the little hyperlinks around the job dashboard there. The final way to interrogate subcontracts that I wanted to show you is the subcontract reports. So this is that screen here, subcontract reports. So under here, this is the general reporting filter, I guess, section here with the subcontract report screen. There's a few different ways you can run this by. So you can do, I'll let you kind of work through these in your own time, but I guess probably the most popular one would be the progress report here. So if I filter that for this particular job, it's very similar to that summary screen that we just looked at. So you'll be able to see, for this particular subcontract, these are the lines and these are the things that are happening on it in terms of what's been billed, what's been claimed, etc. And yeah, you can just kind of scroll down, because I filtered it for this one particular job. You can see all the details about it. The good thing about this report, though, is if there's AP invoices attached to the subcontract, you can see them here, and they're also hyperlinked. So if I click this invoice attached to this 114 subcontract, you'll be able to see that the details on that, when was this invoice raised, and then the lines in the invoice, etc. All right. And then if there were payments, you can actually also see the payment details there. All right, cool. So that's that. That's subcontracts. I might move on to purchase orders now. So this is, I guess, the options that you have of entering in the purchase orders into the system. Very similar to subcontracts in terms of available options. So I won't go through them in the same detail as I did before. But again, we're just going to look at creating POs through the job budget control screen. So I'm going to flip back to the software here. I'll just close a few things. Yeah. So we're back on the job budget control screen. So if I were to pick something else, like let's just say this site sheds and containers. So I'll just use the use all button this time. So we're going to create a PO for this particular cost item. I'm going to use the rest of the budget. I just have to click, I just have to choose a vendor. And then again, you could do this in many different ways. You could have multiple lines relating to the same vendor. One thing I did mention is that if you had different lines relating to different vendors, it will create separate documents. So I might just show you that here. So if I create another line here for a different vendor. So I've got advanced cabinets and advanced temporary fencing here on two separate lines. If I click generate PO, like we did with the subcontract, that will automatically create, see how it's created the two POs at the top here with the next number. They're the two POs that it's created separately because we've got separate lines relating to separate vendors. So that was a functionality I didn't show you before. But now we are on the PO screen. So from the job budget control screen, when we press generate PO, it's brought us to the PO screen. It's pre-filled a lot of the information there as well, just like with the subcontracts. But you can see that the PO screen looks mostly similar, but there's just some extra details here. So for example, you've got the ship to address here now. So you can enter in all that kind of details and we can get those to appear on forms, just like you saw on the form session there. But most importantly, I just want to show you on the line details. Again, it's just got the same cost item details here. These are also put in the pending status. So you can see you got the status pending here at the top here. So if you wanted to make changes to the description, say, for example, you're ordering in something and you've got a particular item number that you want to send to the vendor, et cetera, you can change it at this point because it's still pending. You've also got like a summary tab, so that kind of shows you all the different details about it. If there was freight, you can actually add the freight information here as well. From this screen, you can also see the summary. So I guess because you're coming from the job budget control screen, it's kind of redundant since you already knew the budget figure before. But if you were doing a different option for entering your POs, you're manually entering it in on the screen, for instance, you can actually link that back to your budget on this tab here, so you can see how much budget you're consuming using this particular commitment. There's the approval log, so you can see the details if it's going through a workflow, and then the very same notes and documents tab that you had in the subcontract screen, so you can click and drag any documents you need to send through to your vendor on this documents tab as well. But that's pretty much it. One other thing I wanted to show you here is, let me see if I can find one. If you have okay, this is a good one. So if you had created a PO manually and you were linking it back to a budget and you're about to go over budget on it, you can see that this tab actually highlights red. So on the new ones that we just created, because we were just going under budget or along with a budget, it's just kind of black. But if I went to this one here, because this particular purchase order is going to go over budget, it's highlighted red to bring it to your attention, and you can see the exact details as to how much it's going over budget. So yeah, just something to note. That also exists for the subcontract portion of the software as well. All right, so yeah, that's pretty much it. So I'll just the next steps here would be to print or email this PO and then send it off, and then post it. So if I just print this particular one off to show you that. So printing it will download this PDF, and this is just a demo PO, but yeah, it just has all the details that you would send to them. So it just uses the cost item code as the description on the PO. by default. All right, so I just post this one now. Give me an order trail. And then I just go through the same process with the second PO that I just created there. So print this PO2. I'll just breeze through this step, and then I'll just post that to another order trail. And yeah, that pretty much is how quickly we can generate POs and kind of get them off to our vendors. All right. So any questions on POs at all? I guess it's very similar to the subcontract side of things. Cool. So with POs, you had the same ability to like revise. So if you wanted to change the details on that poster PO, we had the same actions. So flip back to the software, you can go more actions and do revise. I won't do that because you've already seen that functionality. But we also have an additional button which is called complete. And what that's for is, let's just say you've ordered 10 widgets and you only received 8, but the supplier was not going to fulfill the rest of the widgets. You could go ahead and mark the PO as complete. So you can see this little more actions complete button there, and that'll actually kind of close off that PO so it no longer shows as an outstanding commitment. So that's another little bit of the PO that's different to subcontract. We've also got this little slide here to show you the different statuses that a PO can be in. So you've seen pending and revising, but we've also got back order and then a number of other different statuses below there. So we'll send you the slide afterwards so you can kind of keep that handy. And it's also on the knowledge base there, but it just has some extra statuses that you might not see in other parts of the system. All right, so this is bringing me towards the end of the session. I just wanted to show you the Monday board here. So let me just change this off. Bear with me. I'm just going to pull up this external client board. So we have your Monday board here. This is the generic one, but you guys will have your own customizable one. So what we did today was session 11. And we just have a number of tasks here for you to kind of go through. So really it's just doing and having some practice as to what we just looked at today, creating a subcontract, entering in retention information, printing it off, and then doing a similar thing with the POs, creating a PO, posting it, revising it, all that kind of stuff. So just some basic test notes for you to kind of go through in your own time, and then just marking them off as you do them, just to make sure that we've kind of covered all the bits and pieces for this particular session. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Any questions on today's session before we wrap it up? Great. I think that's it then. Thank you very much for coming today. Have a good day, everybody.
Thanks, Ernest.